And that's not a bad thing. Like they don't have a paywall. They tend to do a very good job. They understand it. It's a well-oiled machine. And so, we know, if you've done a story with them, it's going to pretty much go how you want to plan it. So when you go to pitch a funding story, I think the first thing that founders or whoever is reaching out on behalf of the company does wrong is they kind of convolute the message. Like when we pitch a funding story, we make it very clear, hey, we're reaching out with a startup launch or funding. We're offering this to you as an exclusive, meaning we're not going to pitch anyone else if you take the story. Here's the amount that's raised. Here's the space here's the space they're in, and here are the investors. I think you can get so in the weeds with your own messaging that you want to set up this massive problem statement. You want to make it a huge trend story. You don't really say what you're trying to accomplish from it. But if you're like very straightforward and you're like pattern matching, hey, this TechCrunch reporter is the one that covers fintech. I have a fintech funding round. Here's the reason my fintech funding round matters. It's generally actually going to work. And now it does 100% takes follow-up. You're not shooting off one email. You are, respectfully following up. When I follow up, I like to come in with some new information, whether it's something they had tweeted in the past couple of days, a new article that they wrote, very respectful. I try to wait like 3 or 4 days. If it's not going anywhere, then try someone else. Do that 3 or 4 times with the most relevant reporters. Generally, I think it works. I think if you can just be like really concise and direct and say what you're looking for out of the relationship, it tends to be a pretty easy process. Axios is really strong on the fintech side, on the healthcare side. They have some really great like beat reporters. The one thing I will say about them is they are very deals focused. So 100% would you need to either have funding. If you're announcing a partnership that has like a monetary component, that they would cover that. A small, an acquisition they would consider covering, but they're not going to be. You should never pitch them on a product announcement. And I think they might just get annoyed. There's a couple exceptions. A couple of the reporters might have little columns where they feature product related things, but that's just not their bread and butter. And actually, Axios recently launched, or I guess has been launching over the past year or so, local edition. So they're really branching into local news. And so that can actually be a really nice way to get an Axios hit if you have a region specific story. So I highly recommend checking that out. When you Google ones, half of them are not going to be active podcasts. And then the third is like actually, listening to at least part of one episode, making sure the quality is high, making sure it's the kind of thing you even want to associate yourself with. And then just looking at who the past guests are, like, is that like the kind of peers that you want to associate yourself with? But anyways, it was a very successful story. And I believe the title of the TechCrunch article that we got as a result was Gamma brings PowerPoint into the 21st century. Exactly. That's like exactly what we're talking. If maybe they are creating a new category. We weren't talking about it then. We're talking about how it's better than the existing solutions. And so, yeah, I think I guess the piece of advice there is feel free to get like kind of fun and creative with it and don't just follow the typical like issuing press release format.
And then the other tidbit is Nubank is bigger than Coinbase, Robinhood, Affirm, SoFi, and Lemonade combined. Seriously, so much bigger than people in the US realize, which I 100% did not realize.
And I've seen like many companies try doing that and not necessarily see as much success as they'd hoped for. So it's like this, like, if a founder is naturally good at that stuff, lean into it as much as humanly possible. Go for it. If they're not, and you're trying to outsource it, it can be done to some success, but I don't necessarily think it's as easy as, just posting 3 times a week on, relevant topics. There has to be like more going on there. I think that if the spokesperson or the executive that you're trying to build the presence of is willing to, going back to what I said earlier, kind of push the limit on opinions that they have, be bold, be controversial, then it could be worth potentially investing in. And I have seen it play out where reporters have seen those posts and used and quoted things in their articles as a result.